Did you know, as well as the other delicious energy formulas they have on their site, GamerSupps now carries tea. Like they've got this ginger turmeric one, caffeine free, so a good way to wind down at the end of the night. Get 10% off any order from gamersupps.gg with the code Thorin, Thorin. Now, if you are a fan of the subgenre of music called new metal, as I am known to be, and especially if you like the work of the band KoRn, who is obviously incredibly iconic from that subgenre, then I have an album for you that is a banger and you must listen. And I'm amazed how many people aren't aware of this one, actually. So the backstory goes, in 2002, the film Queen of the Damned came out, which was a sequel to the film, I think it was from 94, of Interview with the Vampire, the one that had Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. It was about Lestat the Vampire from the Anne Rice novels, The Vampire Chronicles. And basically, this sequel, which is a bit more cynically made, it doesn't have as big figures in it, as like Stuart Townsend as Lestat instead of Tom Cruise, for example, so you can get a sense of the scale. The plot of that novel was that Lestat comes back years later and becomes like a pop singer. I think at the time it was done in the 80s, so I think he was like a new wave sort of like almost like New Romantics type pop singer, and that was what was making everyone love his stuff. But because this movie came out in 2002, they choose to update the theme and aesthetic and make it that he's a new metal singer. And so what they do is they get Jonathan Davis to be the voice of him when he sings on stage in the movie as part of the plot and sings these new metal type songs. Clever angle being, because Jonathan Davis has such a very unique sort of guttural singing voice, actually that plays into the idea that vampires have this sort of like magical or supernatural effect on people, potentially even with their voice, because obviously they're known to be hypnotic, their effect over women, particularly human females, obviously, hence why they're able to seduce the woman that they're then going to bite the neck of, etc., in the vampire mythos. So the problem with the movie, though, is this. If you watch this movie as I did when it came out, the first thing you think is, well, I love Jonathan Davis, so I can't wait to download the soundtrack. This sounds amazing. But of course, when you get the soundtrack, what happens? You discover that sadly, due to some sort of contractual issues, I think with whoever KoRn had their album deal with, basically, he was allowed to do the music in the movie, but he's not allowed to actually have an album, which would be the soundtrack of this music. So what they do instead is they do the next best thing, which is they went and they got a bunch of the other really good new metal singers like David Dramian from Disturbed or Chester Benningfield or whatever his name was from Linkin Park. They get a whole bunch of these people and they have them do covers of the songs from the movie. And listen, some of them are pretty good. The David Dramian one was pretty good, for example. Some of the others are a bit more hit and miss. The problem is, though, none of them have Jonathan Davis' voice, so they don't sound like the songs from the movie. But the good news is, in 2007, Jonathan Davis did a sort of solo tour with acoustic elements called Alone I Play, obviously referencing the famous KoRn song Alone I Break. And what he did on this tour was feature live performances of a bunch of these exact songs. So you get these banger songs from the movie with him singing them, and by the way, he kills it. He's a really good live singer, actually. Oh, and also, don't worry, he does also do a bunch of solo tracks and a bunch of KoRn classics, like stuff like Dirty, Got the Life, Falling Away From Me. And also, by the way, it actually makes this movie a banger to watch. Look, the movie plot isn't that great, and the actual, like I said, it's not the best actors ever, but if you like this type of music, it's essentially just a really cool modern day sort of musical for people who are Gen X or millennials or something. So this album is a mad sleeper. I'm telling you, if you've never heard it before, you're going to be shocked how good some of these tracks actually are. Obviously, my main gig is over in esports on my main channel, but my side channel and all my content around my other interests here are kindly supported by my Patreon community on Thorin's side here. So do you want to ask me a question for my video AMA? Do you want to take part in a private one-on-one exclusive, never to be released but recorded for you session? Call it consulting, call it just a conversation if you want. Do you want to find out who upcoming guests are for the Thor Inquiry episodes? If any or other perks like this take your interest, check out the Patreon link in the description box below and join Thorin's side today.